Okay, so I am live. So I have not really been using Instagram to go live. I started that just before things had kind of stopped. So now I am doing that again. And so here I am. And so I am back. So let's get started. So I'm going to start off with welcome to Crescent Wisdom Moon Medicine Conversations, where ancient wisdom meets modern healing. I'm Gigado Migunpei, also known as Roli Alaire, and I'm also grateful you've joined me for this sacred conversation. This podcast was born from a deep knowing that we need spaces to explore healing that honor both the timeless wisdom of our ancestors and the unique challenges that we face in our modern world. Each episode is intentionally aligned with the lunar cycle and astrological energies, trusting that there's medicine in these ancient rhythms for our contemporary hearts. So while we had planned to begin our journey together earlier this year, sometimes the universe has its own timing. So today feels like the perfect moment to step into this work together as we're being held by the first quarter moon in Scorpio. A powerful time for going deep, speaking truth, and exploring the transformative power of authentic connection. As we launch today and continue throughout August, I'll be sharing episodes weaving together ancient teachings with modern insights, personal stories with practical wisdom. And think of this as a sitting together in sacred space, exploring the pathways to emotional healing and authentic self connection that have guided my own journey and the work I do with others. So today's focus is the sacred dance of relationship, exploring how our connection with others serves as mirrors for our deepest growth and healing, with Scorpio's medicine illuminating what often remains hidden. We're invited to look honestly at how we love, how we heal, and how we grow through the beautiful, challenging dance of being in a relationship with one another. So pour yourself some tea, settle in, and let's explore together what it means to find healing through the sacred mirror of relationships. As you can tell, for those of you who are catching this on the video, I am outside. I don't know if you heard that very loud truck going by, but I am outside and I am really looking forward to being able to be connected to outdoors during these few months. I'm hoping that outdoors will be an option. If not, I will be indoors, obviously, but I will really enjoy being able to do this. So hopefully it is not too noisy. The baby is outside. He is, I shouldn't call him a baby anymore. He's the toddler, outside enjoying the outside. We have some people that are over in the other side, but I am over here chatting about all things around these relationships. And so so the first thing that I wanted to be able to talk about is remembering that if we remember all I don't even know how to word this. So what if every relationship is medicine? So if we actually look at it that way. So one of the things that one of those expressions that we've heard is being able to talk about how some people have come into our lives for a season, whereas others have come into our lives for a lifetime. So it all depends on what it is that's going on in our lives and what it is that's happening. And so relationships do come and go. And so that is something that is really important for us to be able to remember. So sometimes these relationships are going to be there, and they're going to come into perspective. I'm on my hammock, but I'm going to probably fall off my hammock. So because I'm sitting on a slant. So this is kind of like where I parked myself. So anyway, so we're talking about how all of this happened. So how we actually connect with relationships. And so one of the things with this particular season, with where it is that we're at, this particular moon cycle, is we are in that first quarter moon in Scorpio. So this is where we're like, where the moon is literally half. And so, but we're in that Scorpio moon. And so one of the things that's asking us to look at is the things that we actually keep hidden in our relationships. So our jealousies, our control patterns, our fears of abandonment, all of which play a role in all of our in all of us. And so some people will say, no, I'm like very confident. I don't have any of these issues. And for the most part, I can say that about myself for the most part. And then my anxiety creeps in and then reminds me that that's not always the case. And that hasn't always been the case. And so one of the things that, like, so for example, I can think of one particular relationship that I've had with a friend who was always running late. So, and that used to drive me crazy. But then when I actually think about it, I don't always run on time. And so that makes it even, and that's one of the things that frustrates me. So when I'm running late with or when a friend's running late and it's like, we're going to be late for everything. And it's like, oh my gosh, that just brings in all this anxiety of like, okay, I'm going to be late again. And other people are going to see that I'm late. And then it just creates all this extra anxiety for me as to how it is that I'm going to actually bring, what it is that I'm going to be doing with that. And so it's just really important for us to be able to look at, why are we getting frustrated with somebody else and the things that they're doing? Is what is it in us that is responding to our needs, our lack of needs within our own selves as to what it is that we're doing. And so that's what this particular conversation is that relationships mirror ourselves. And so like that's the that kind of ties into the next topic / theme that I wanted to be able to talk about, is the mirror teaching. So like when we talk about relationships and other people and all those kinds of things, is that when we have this sense of frustration, or when we're getting angry about somebody else's behavior or whatever it is that's going on, is it's putting up a mirror for us to be able to check in and see what is it that's happening within that relationship, or within that moment, or within that time that impacts us. And impacts us isn't the right word that I'm looking for. So why is it triggering us? And so a lot of times it's triggering us because it's either an area that we have already been dealing with, and we don't want it to continue to surface, or like, so for example, if we're getting really angry with somebody about something, it's like, where do we have some unexpressed anger? And so like when I actually thought about that, and as I was preparing for this, it's kind of like, where's my unexpressed anger? And so there has been many situations over my lifetime, including more recently, where I'm like feeling more angry about certain circumstances or certain situations, and how somebody may or may not be responding, and that kind of thing. And so when I think back about that, and I think about like, why is this angering me? And so one of the things that I need to do, which I have not yet done, is have a conversation with someone who is very near and dear to me, that I need to talk about, like, why am I feeling why am I feeling so angry and frustrated? For those of you who are catching this on the replay of the video, of the audio, I just went and crossed my legs like I typically do, but on the hammock sideways does not work so well, and it sent the computer flying. So that's just a little bit of humor for those who are actually watching, but for those of you who are not watching and just listening, you're like, why is she going? Yeah, so that's kind of like the sideline. So for those of you who are new to me, one of the things is that I do not edit, so I will not edit this. I have been editing the 90-second ones, but only to like reduce it to 90 seconds or to speed it up to 90 seconds. But these podcasts never get edited, and so they actually go exactly how it presents. So if my laptop topples over, then my laptop topples over. If my grandson comes running into the screen, then my grandson comes running into the screen. It just is the way that it is. And so, although I haven't been doing podcasts for a while, this is something that's really important. And so at some point, hopefully September, October, I'm going to look at having guests again. But right now, I'm just kind of getting back into the swing of things, of having these conversations and just having these real talks about what it is that's happening. And so, while still trying to be mindful of, my goal is to keep it within 30 minutes. And so sometimes I get sidelined. And but again, if you are with me in person or you participate in any of the things that I do, that sometimes is part of the circumstances. We may still get sidelined. So I may have an agenda as to what it is that we want to cover, and I will typically come back to the agenda. But sometimes we just kind of get sideswiped into wherever it is that we need to go. And me almost falling off the trampoline was one of them. So obviously this is probably not the best place for me to be hanging out, but we'll see. We'll see where things go. So anyway, let's go back to, we were talking about the mirror teachings. And so good thing I have some notes so that I can kind of come back to it. But which is different than the 90-second moon wisdom minutes. I am where that is completely scripted and trying to stay within the 90 seconds. This isn't scripted. I do have some notes, and so I just kind of like some talking points so that I can come back to it, so that I can make sure that I'm covering what it is that I want to cover in these in the 20 minutes. Because like there's a conversation, which is what we're doing. Conversation 20 to 30 minutes is like my goal, is my objective. And one of the things that I started doing when I stopped doing my podcast previously is that I have an intro that I am reading, and I will also have an outro that I will read. And so, but otherwise, the rest of it is just me really just having a conversation. And when I get back into doing interviews with people, then that will be part of the conversation as well, is bringing things back in. So Steph is one of the bystanders over on the other side, and she says, "I love your hammock." So she's she's one of those ones that are over on the other end. But this is so just going back and looking at comments. So now let's go back to my note, if I can find my notes, because I just lost my screen. Okay, so we were talking about the mirror teaching. So others are our greatest teachers. And so one of the ones that I always go back to, this one as being one of my teachers, is my youngest. And so as a parent, he was definitely my teacher. And one of the things that I discovered through him and through conversations with him, and he kind of chuckled about it, was my frustration about his ADHD brain. And he's like, "Where do you think that I get it from?" And so it's like, so then when I had the chance to be able to reflect, so that's that mirror, right? So I had that chance to reflect, and I was like, yeah, he's right. I am all over the place. I don't always finish what it is that I start in sequence. I kind of get distracted and kind of go off and do some other things and then come back. So like I'm that person who moves from room to room, and it's like, okay, I'm going to take this and I have to go put it into this room, and then I get into that room, and then I start doing something else in that room, and then it's like, oh yeah, I was working on the dishes, and then go back into the kitchen, et cetera, et cetera. And so so that's kind of always, so I've used a lot of lists over the years, but it's like when I was actually able to recognize the fact that I am recognizing that, what am I doing? You're sitting. So as I said, because we are live and we are outside, we are just going to do whatever it is that it takes. And so here's Mr. Clark joining us in our in our activity today. So we're going to hope that he's not going to. Yes, we're supposed to lay down. That's the rule on the hammock, but Nookum is sitting on it right now. Okay. And so, so that is one of the things, is being able to do that. So one of the areas of like reflecting is, although I see so much of my son. No, I'm not getting out of there. Hey, you need to stop, please. And so one of the things is that in terms of those reflections, you need to sit on your bum though, because you are going to flip us on your bum. Thank you. And so being able to have that conversation and noticing that although I would become very frustrated and angered over some of the things that my son would do, and seeing my grandson, who is spitting image of him in terms of personality and everything. And it's like, I have like all the patience in the world when it comes to him, because it's not, but been there, done that kind of thing, right? So, but my life is also different, right? So I'm not working full time. Well, I am working full time, but like I don't have to leave to go to work. I don't have to get them to daycare and or school and all that other stuff. So the patterns are so much different. And so, but it's still, again, those reflections of what it is that's going on. And so like, but when we actually look at somebody from, when we're looking at some of these frustrations or things like that, we also need to look at, are we becoming frustrated with certain things because it is a reflection, or is there some toxic behavior going on? So that is very important for us to be able to, we have to have a distinction between that, because it's really important for us to be able to look at. And so the next topic of things that I wanted to be able to chat about is the sacred wounds of connection. So when we're wounded is where we're called to heal. So sometimes relationships come into play, is so like this is where Venus squares Saturn energy, and we're experiencing right now, is now asking us to the profound question. So how did you learn to love? What was conditional love in your early life? Did you have to earn it by being perfect, by achieving, by taking care of everyone else's needs? And so when I actually look at that from that perspective of like, no, it wasn't, it definitely wasn't unconditional. With my children and my grandchildren, it definitely is unconditional. I unconditionally love them. No matter what it is that's going on, I will always love them. It doesn't matter what it is that they do, I will always love them. And I might be angry with them, I might be frustrated with them, but it's definitely, hey dude, can we not do that right now? Yeah, let's do that later, okay? Thank you. Good job. Give me 5. Yeah, we'll drive it later, okay? And so, yeah, so sorry about the wind chimes, but he is allowed to use the wind chimes, just not right now at this particular moment, as a transport goes by and makes a lot of noise. So one of the things that I often see these patterns, so like not only in my own life, but I see them in patterns of other people's, like people that I work with as well. So I've been working with people for a number of years, and that is one of the things that I see is these different patterns. And so like, so who says, and that's, I say that all the time, is like, so who says we need to follow that rule? Who says we need to do it that way? Who says, right? So like really having people like look back and figuring out, is this really theirs or is this somebody else's? And like just being really paying attention to what are some of the patterns? Like, so why do we keep doing things that, and allowing people to like walk all over us, for example? It's really important for us to be able to look at like, what are some of these old patterns? And so are these old patterns there that have taught us that love is conditional, that we need to look at what other people say, and that kind of thing. And so just really important for us to be able to recognize that. So my anxiety at times was debilitating. And sometimes, I'm going to say at times was debilitating, because it happens less than it used to, but it still happens. So sometimes my anxiety still gets the best of me. And so sometimes I need to like just take a step back, and it's like, no. Okay, that's not mine. That's not what it is that I need to be dealing with. I don't care what other people think in this particular circumstance. Obviously, I care what people think, because otherwise I wouldn't be in the helping field, right? So I do care what other people think, because I do want to help people and help people get better. But how they change or what they do has no influence on me. And so one of the things that I always like to, and I loved this expression when I first heard it years ago, was somebody else's opinion of me is none of my business. And so I try to remember that when things get overwhelming at times, right? So it's just really, really important for us to be able to think about that. And so I don't I don't know, my grandson's yelling or calling, but he's doing something. So now the other part is the dance of autonomy. So autonomy and intimacy. So no, don't get on there. That's not for climbing. Thank you. That's not for climbing. That's for putting a drink on. Can you go get a drink and we'll put it on the table? So being whole while being together. So with the sun opposite Pluto energy, it's showing us where we give our power away in relationships or where we try to control others instead of trusting the process. So real intimacy requires us to be fully ourselves while remaining open to another. Open to another. It's one of life's most beautiful paradoxes. So this is one of the things that's really important for us to be able to remember is that although we are able to be together, and we need to be together because we are humans, is being able to have those conversations where we are connected while still being our own by being our own selves. So this is where boundaries come into play, and being able to have this look at how we're actually going to be dealing with other people. And so I just want to go back and read, because there was something else about, I just want to go back to one of my notes, because so healthy boundaries aren't walls, they're a bridge. So when I say I need time to think about that, which is one of the things that I will often say, is that if somebody wants me to do something, I will often say, when it's something that I'm not sure, if it's a full yes, then that's not a big deal, but something that might be, I don't know, then my response will be like, let me think about that. And so instead of immediately saying yes to keep the peace, I'm not being difficult, I'm being authentic. So when I choose to serve my partner because I genuinely want to give, not because I'm afraid of conflict. So that's where Mars in Virgo is at its best. And that's the part that I wanted to read, was like the Mars in Virgo, right? So we really need to be paying attention to those aspects. So the questions are, am I showing up in as myself in relationships, or am I showing up because I want to? Am I showing up in a way where people? I'm wondering how people want to be able to see things, right? So the other part of that I want to be able to touch before we head out is transformation and connection. Transforming conflict into connection. So the sacred fire of conscious conflict. So Mercury in Leo, so that we're still in Leo season. So Mercury in Leo is asking us to speak from our hearts, not our wounds. That is really difficult, especially for me. So I will often speak from my wound, and I need to take a step back and think about, is that really where it is that I want to be? So you, instead of saying you always, try when this happens, I feel. So I'm not really good at that one. So even though I teach that and I can recognize it in others, I have to remember with myself, so that it's like, it's not always, it doesn't always happen that way. But this is how I'm feeling when this happens. And so it's really important for us to be able to look at that. So Scorpio knows that sometimes love has to burn away what's not real to reveal what is. So I've learned that that the fights that feel the most devastating are often the ones trying to break through a deeper level of truth and intimacy. So when I actually think about that particular statement, and I think about like, oh yeah, so again, I've said relationships come and go, right? So I've had relationships that have come into my life, and it's like, oh, this is amazing, I love this relationship, and then all of a sudden things go sour, and it's like, and then something happens that the relationship comes back again, and I'm like, oh, okay, this is perfect, I love this relationship, I'm so glad that we were actually able to get this back together. And then something happens again, and it's that peace, right? So Scorpio is that that energy of so it's represented by a Scorpio, And so it's a reminder that when we're in that Scorpio energy, that this is where it's going to, it has that stinger, right? So it stings the truth. And so it really has us look at that shadow side of us, really has us look at, is this really what it is that we want to be looking at for ourselves? So that is something to keep in mind as well. So it's just really important for us to have a look at some of that. So this particular week, I'm going to invite you to have a look at, like, how does that happen? Have a look at, how do I win an argument? Do I need to win in the argument? Are we both being heard and understood? And sometimes it's like, so we grew up in, whoever speaks the loudest is going to be the one who's going to be heard. And so it's that reminder of, like, okay, just a minute, like, take a step back and, okay, has everybody had a chance to say things? So oftentimes I will revert to typing things so that I can allow the information to be shared or to be heard that way, versus using my voice, because I know that when it becomes something heated, I know that my voice gets loud. I know that I get amplified. Whereas if I can put it in writing, then there could be still some misinterpretation because of the way that it reads, but then we can at least have a conversation about it. But at least then I have the opportunity to be able to try and stay in that calm state. So that is one of the things that I really try to kind of bring things forward. So integration and daily practice. So bringing the sacred into every day. And so when something is happening and we're like really like feeling whatever, and good or bad, so like not just bad, like not just those bad feelings, but even those good feelings, is like, so what is the person teaching me about myself, right? So like when I'm in that feeling good, loving, and or angry situation, what is this person that's in my life, in me, in front of me right now, trying to teach me? A lot of times for me, it's patience. So I'm not super patient, and so I've become more patient over the years, but I'm not super patient. And so it's a reminder that I have to remember to be in that patient self. So on that note, like I said, I want to be able to try and keep everything in this short point. So I've talked about all the things that I want to be able to talk about. Love to be able to continue with some of the conversations. And I want to thank you for joining me in this sacred exploration of how we heal through relationship. I hope this conversation has offered you a new lens for seeing the mirrors in your own life. In this episode, if this episode resonates for you, and you're feeling called to go deeper with this work, I want to share something special with you. So I offer personalized moon medicine journey sessions. So these are intimate 30-day healing experiences, limited to just 3 women each lunar cycle. And this isn't group work. It's completely personalized one-on-one sessions where we explore your unique relationship patterns and anxiety triggers through the wisdom of the lunar phase. So we meet 3 times over the month, once during the releasing energy of the waning moon, once during the illuminating power of the full moon, and once during the integration phase. So each journey includes your personal birth chart analysis, if you so choose, customized practices for your specific emotional patterns, ongoing support through a 30-day cycle. It's profound work. It's profound work that honors both your analytical mind and your intuitive wisdom. So it's perfect for women who think differently and feel deeply. So if you're tired of surface level approaches and ready for healing that honors your unique way of being in the world, you can learn more. And for those of you who are here, it's the link is so rolialaire.com moon /moon medicine journey. So there's only 3 spaces available for each lunar cycle. So the most beautiful way to support this podcast is simply by sharing it. If today's conversation touched your heart, please share this episode with a friend who might need to hear it. Leave a review on the Apple Podcast or on Spotify. It truly helps other women find this work. And follow me on social media where when you share your own insights from these conversations. So next week, we're going to explore integration, the art of becoming whole. So as we work with the full moon in Aquarius, this is powerful energy for bringing together all different parts of ourselves, our light and shadow, our strength and vulnerability, our ancient wisdom and modern understanding. So until then, pay attention to the mirrors in your relationships. They're showing you exactly what you need to see. Trust the process, trust your own wisdom, and remember that every relationship is an opportunity for healing. So I'm so grateful that you're walking this path with me. Take care of your beautiful heart, and I will see you next week. This is Gigado Migun Kwe, also known as Rolly, reminding you that where ancient wisdom meets modern healing, magic happens. Talk to you soon. Bye for now.